Good morning, everybody. I'm going to get us started with part one today, and part one is grounding the work. So let's get started, and to do that, we're going to have to get our nerd on a little bit. Let's put on your nerdy hat. Let's talk about John Hattie. If you have been in education for any time at all, you probably have heard of his work. John Hattie's work comes from the research that synthesized over 1,600 meta-analyses of over 95,000 studies. Now, let me tell you what that means. That means that John Hattie took these meta-analyses, which are studies of other studies, and the studies, those meta-analyses that he took had already studied 95,000 studies. Have I said studies enough yet? This is a lot of research, people. And he took over 1,600 of those, which included over 95,000 studies within them. And the biggest, coolest thing, I think, is that these studies involved over 300 million students. And what he looked at was what strategies have the greatest effect on student achievement. So when folks talk about best practices in education or what really works in schools, Hattie's work is typically at the forefront of that. So what is an effect size? Well, in an educational setting, an effect size is a way to measure the effectiveness of a particular strategy or intervention. So what Hattie tells us is that an effect size of a zero point 0.2 can be judged to have a small effect. A zero point 0.4 has a medium effect, and a zero point 0.6 or higher has a large effect on outcomes. He also defines that zero point 0.4 as the hinge point, an effect size at which an initiative or strategy can be said to be having a greater than average influence on achievement. So we want to find those strategies that he researched from 1,600 studies of meta-analyses of 95,000 studies involving 300 million students. And we can tell from that research, that's a lot, what really is working. What are the right strategies to use? Now, when you look up on this screen right now, you're going to see a lot of things that we do already. So I want you to look at the strategy at the top of the screen. I put the effect size on that one already. And from what I just told you, you know that a 1.57 is a tremendous effect. Some people even say that if collective teacher efficacy is happening, that could even provide over a year's worth of influence on student achievement. So what is collective teacher efficacy? That's that collective work, guys. That is your day-to-day, what you do on your campus. And that is the belief, and I love this part, that student background doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they live. It doesn't matter who's in their house. It doesn't matter their socioeconomic status. What matters is what you do. So that's not something we can teach you here today, but I wanted you to see that because so many of us are working so tremendously hard in collaborative teams. And that collaborative team has a huge effect on student learning. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to look at these other 6 strategies on this screen. So we've got learning targets, reducing class size, teacher clarity, direct instruction. That's not lecturing. That is really that intentional targeted instruction where we know exactly what we are teaching students. Teaching test, taking and coaching, and distance learning. So I want you to think about those 6 strategies, and I want you to just take a few minutes to pause this video in just a second, probably take you about 3 to 5 minutes, to sort these strategies from highest to lowest effect size. Now don't cheat, don't fast forward the video or don't Google the answers. Just take your time. What do you think has the highest effect down to the lowest effect on student outcomes and student achievement? So go ahead and pause this video. Should take about 3 to 5 minutes. Work with your collaborative team or independently and rank these strategies from highest to lowest effect size. Then come on and join me back in the video when you're done. So hopefully you had some good conversations about those effect sizes and what do you think is the most powerful? What has the most leverage? What has the most effect? So what'd you think? Which strategies have the most effect on student outcomes? Here's your answers. Take just a minute to look through these. Remember, according to Hattie, a point 4 is the hinge point. So that's the point at which an initiative or strategy can be said to having a greater than average influence on achievement. How'd you do? Now don't panic. You aren't being graded. But do you see some things that we do here in Plano ISD that have a positive effect on student outcomes? And then we see some things that don't or have no effect. So we all know that at this time, with all the things happening, our number one hindrance is having enough time, right? It's hard to find time to plan, develop instruction, teach, be effective at work and at home. And so many of us are feeling overwhelmed and ineffective every day. But look at what we can do to be effective. Look at the strategies that can have a positive effect on students and their learning. And let me just say one thing about distance learning. Directly from Hattie himself in the Distance Learning Playbook, he says, the effect size of distance learning is small, but that does not mean it is not effective. It means it does not matter whether teachers undertake teaching face to face or virtually over the internet. What we do matters, not the medium of doing it. So let's take a deeper look at how we can get better at the things we're already doing. And let's see what a powerful tool. Let's start with these learning targets. They're a powerful tool and they can be used for effective classroom instruction. And we're actually going to watch this through the eyes of a kindergarten classroom. So this next section of learning involves us watching and reflecting on a classroom of kindergarten students during a writing lesson. Now, I know we don't all teach kindergarten, and I know if you're one of the upper grade teachers, you hope you never have to. But you know, Beachy loves some kindergarten babies. And I'm going to be real. If you can make this happen with the 5 and 6-year-olds, I really think you can make it happen anywhere, right? So in just a minute, you're going to leave me and you're going to click on the Using a Learning Target Through a Lesson video in your Google Classroom. It's just a little over 3 minutes long. And while you watch this short video, we want you to think about 3 things. What did you observe the teacher and students doing in the video? What teacher actions did you observe that helped create a sense of clarity for the learning? What student actions did you observe that showed students knew what they were supposed to be learning? Now, my kinder teachers out there, you're going to turn on this video and you're going to go, this is not one of our standards. We don't teach this in our TEKS. And you're right, and that's okay. That's not what this video is about. This video is about clarity. This video is about being effective. This video is about being very intentional about instruction and ensuring that the children and the students are very clear about what they are learning. So you can go ahead and pause this video in just a minute, head back over to your Google Classroom, and click on the link for using a learning target throughout a lesson. Watch that video and don't forget that while you're watching to reflect on these 3 questions. Please talk with your collaborative team and see what you come up with. Thanks for learning with me today.